Three, two, one. Welcome to Jim's Take, episode 161. We're at the end of 2025. It's very exciting. It's a new year. We're looking at 2026. We're all looking forward. Everybody's about to become a philosopher and come up with all the things that we need to talk about and do and get very reflective and thinking about their planning and all that good kind of stuff. And so I thought I'd just lean into that and just run with that. I think, every year I go to a coffee shop and I sit down for a couple hours and I put the bugs in my ear and put on some quiet music and I just really think about, what went well, what didn't, all the standard types of questions. But then, that's really not good enough. I do a little bit and then I go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I've came up with these 5 categories that I think are particularly relevant for 2026. As I think about the clients that I work with, the work that I'm doing, all this good kind of stuff, there are, everything is changing so incredibly quickly. Everybody is so overwhelmed. They don't really know what direction to go into as they think about their plans. Because at the end of 2026, the world is going to be incredibly different than it is today. Just like right now is incredibly different than what it was at the beginning of 2025. And I put into these categories as I was sitting there, because I was writing this laundry list of questions for myself, of questions, and it became overwhelming. There's just so much. There's too much to do. All this technology is supposed to make life easier, but all it does is accelerate our need to think and do and accomplish and all that kind of stuff. And so I realized as part of my planning is I needed to cull the herd a little bit. And I needed to say, what doesn't matter? And I almost flipped it on its head a little bit and say, well, here's what matters, here's what doesn't matter. And how do I kind of flip out these different things that are just added distraction to everything that's happening to me in 2025. And as I try to build something in 2026, what really matters to me that I really want to accomplish. And some of it's work-based, some of it's not. A lot of it's intentional, human, personal stuff. But anyway, I put together these 5 categories of questions. And since I'm a consultant, I did a 5 by 5. I've got 5 categories, 5 questions in each category. And I'm going to rip through them today. And if any of these jump out, I hope they're helpful as you think about what really matters in 2026. I'm going to talk philosophically about the 5 categories, and then I'm going to go through each one. And if you want a little worksheet, you're welcome to do it. I threw it on the website. Go do it. Or if it's not on the website, it will be by the time this hits. So let's just jump into it. I think there are 5 categories that are incredibly important as we think about being intentional with 2026. And intentionality is a key word here, right? We have to be intentional with where it is that we wish to go, because ultimately we are left holding the bag on where we end up. Now, the world is going to throw a bunch of crap our way. It's going to throw a whole bunch of shit to throw you sideways and hit you and do all this kind of stuff. And we make decisions in the minute, but without intentionality of where we wish to be at the end, we're not really sure what decision to make. And the intentionality, when the runway ends, the intentionality allows us to say, this is where I wish to be at the end of 2026. This is why I'm making the decision I have today. It cuts through a lot of the noise to say, this isn't relevant for where I want to go, or it is. And there are so many things in this world that are just designed, and this is so big for me right now. Everything is designed to take your attention. It's exhausting, right? I'm going back to an old analog watch. I'm thinking about going to a dumb phone. I might even just get rid of my phone. I just read an article about someone who got rid of his phone and he's doing okay. And I got to think about how I'd actually do that. Everything is listening to you and marketing to you and selling to you, and they're changing the prices in the grocery store based on who you are as an individual. So if you pay 50 cents for a can of beans, I might have to pay 90 cents for a can of beans, and it's all a bunch of horse shit. And so I'm getting annoyed with a lot of things. So when we think about all this external stuff, it's all a distraction. And when we think about who we are and what we need, right, how do we cut that noise and say, this is what's relevant for me? And this is what's important for me. And nothing else really matters, right? Nothing else really matters. I'm not saying become a sociopath. I'm not saying, do all that kind of stuff. We have to interact with humans. We'll get into the social component. But here are the 5 categories that I think are relevant for 2026 as you sit down and you've got some time over the holidays, and maybe hopefully you get a little bit of quiet time and you can start to ask yourself real hard questions that we can answer honestly. You don't have to share this with anybody, but we have to answer this honestly about what's really relevant to you. And lean into those questions, lean into those answers. And there is no right or wrong. The first thing that comes to your mind when you're answering yourself really honestly may surprise you. And it surprised me a lot on how I'm actually reshaping my entire business on what's really relevant, on what I thought I was going to do and what really matters for me. I'm cutting a lot of the noise out, and I'm dropping clients that I don't want to take anymore, and the things that aren't really aligned with what it is that I wish to do. So the 5 categories, I've queued it up enough. I'm going to say it now. I think there are 5 categories that we have to, 5 as I look in the camera, sorry, I'm holding a pen, categories that I think are relevant for you in 2026. Number 1, basic accomplishment. Right? What are you looking to accomplish in 2026? That's fine. I'm going to give you some more questions to follow up with that. We're going to go through the 5 whys. The next question is around fears and motivations. Then I want to get into priorities, which is different than accomplishment. Then I want to get into a social component and a wellness component. These are your 5 categories that I think we need to give some attention to as we're planning for 2026. Now, the 5 whys, which is something you see in workplace all the time. It's called a root cause analysis. You ask yourself, why did this happen? And then you ask 5 whys after it, right? I wish to be the greatest coach in the world. Why, right? Well, because then it will bring me lots of money. Why? Why? Whatever it is, right? And that's not what I'm thinking about. But you can think about any question you have or any answer you have, and you ask yourself why 5 times, and you get to a real root cause of what's really relevant to you. Or why did this actual thing happen? And they do that a lot in operations, to say, all right, this broke. Why? Well, because this person didn't do something. Why? Well, because they were overworked, because half the people called out. Why? Right? And if you go through, you can find out, all right, this is what really happened so that this doesn't happen again. You could flip that and then say, all right, here's what I really want to do. Why? I want my kids. I love my kids. Why? Well, because I want them to be really successful and I want them to do this. Why? I love the question why. So let's start with number 1. We're going to go into accomplishment. Number 1 is accomplishment. If you were to sit and ask yourself, number 1, what would make me unambiguously proud at the end of 2026 that I did? And I think that's a really important component. It's not what you're supposed to do, it's what you're proud of doing. And pride gets kind of a bad rap, but I think really the only KPI that really matters or that's really worth anything is, are you proud of what you did? And achievement, half the goals we have to do are kind of performative. We're told we're supposed to do it. We're supposed to get all these followers on social, and we're supposed to have this project done for work, and we're supposed to do all these types of things. And if you know me, I'm incredibly hostile to authority. But most of the time, the things that make us really, really proud, we resist starting them because they kind of make us a little bit of we're a little afraid of it. We're afraid of being proud of something. We're afraid of not being seen as humble. We're afraid of all these different types of things. And, a lot of the bottlenecks we get to accomplish many things is really about avoidance. We're avoiding the things that really matter to us for whatever reason, and we can backfill it with all this other noise that seem easier to accomplish, or because we're supposed to do it or anything else. And so if you can't say why you're really proud of doing something, if you look at the things you're supposed to do in 2026, I would argue some of this is really vanity based, or it's being driven by somebody else. And so what is the one thing that 2026 would be real value to you? And one of the things that I would hit or ask is, and I love this question, is if I were replaced in 2026, what's the first thing, and this is work-based, what's the first thing my replacement would do, and why am I not doing it? Right? We have to take a look at the things we're proud of and the things we're supposed to be doing and the things that we want to do. And what is the thing that's really urgent, and what are the things that aren't urgent that we're pretending are urgent, right? So if we were to sit and think, what is the one thing I want to do at the end of 2026? What would make me so proud to do it? How will I know that it's done? Why have I been avoiding it? What will I deliberately do to protect this? What will I deliberately not do to protect this? And what are the milestones, and what resources can I throw at this? All that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really your typical accomplished thing, but intentionality with accomplishment is when we think about what do we want to accomplish, it's not just a checklist of 500 things to do. I love the Warren Buffett thing. Make your list of everything you have to do. There's 10 things you have to do this week. Pick the top 3, cut the rest. Right? Because you're just not going to do it. How many things have been on your to-do list that are just noise that you're just not going to get finished, right? allocate those resources that you're wasting time and the cognitive energy and the emotional energy that you're putting into things that don't matter, and what really matters to you as a human being that's going to make you so proud that you did in 2026. It could be work-based, it could be personal-based, it could be fitness-based, it could be community-based, it could be family-based, it could be anything at all, right? At the end of 2026, this time next year, you've had a year to do it. This is your big accomplishment. Rah, rah, rah. I want to do an Ironman. I want to do a marathon. I want to write a book. I want to crochet, whatever the hell it is. I don't care. That's what you're going to accomplish, right? Make a rug. I don't know what it is. Do whatever the hell you want. That's accomplishment. There are deep questions you can ask on that, but do with that. That's number one. Number two, fears and motivations. Many of the things that clients struggle with, we don't ask ourselves this question, right? We love to talk about motivation. We love to talk about the things we want to do, but we don't really like to talk about the things that we don't want to do for certain types of reasons, right? Everybody's motivated. I love the question, what motivates you? Many people don't have an answer to that, right? Another question, obviously, is what are you afraid of? When I'm stuck on something, there are two questions I typically ask myself. If I can't make progress on something that I know is important, the first question is, what's one little step, right? Maybe my to-do list is just too big, right? Like write a marketing plan is too big. What is one step that I could take towards it? It's going to take me less than 10 minutes. It's one thing. But the other question I ask is, what am I afraid of? Is there a fear that's preventing me from doing some kind of accomplishment or pushing myself to do one type of thing? Is it social rejection? Is it a fear of failure? Is it afraid that I just don't know what's going to happen, right? I mean, there's all kinds of fears, motivations, everything else that we have. What are the fears and motivations that we do? We can't outsmart or outrun a fear that we haven't named. So we have to put a name to it. And we generally hide these fears behind things like logistics, right? The amount of times I workshop myself to death but don't accomplish anything. Generally, if I just said, you know what, this is really what I'm afraid of right now, I would have gotten things done so much sooner than if I just named it, addressed it, and moved on. The ayahuasca thing, it still lives with me. It was a year and a half ago, but that was all about confronting fears. And it's all about confrontation. And I think confrontation is such an important thing that we have to do right now when everything is just so overwhelming. What unknown fear, this kind of hidden fear that we all have it, a fear of being left behind, a fear of being fired, a fear of going broke, whatever it is. We have these fears. What is it? How do we name it? And how do we put it into its little, this little compartment and everything else? There is a difference between some discomfort when we address the fear and we grow. And there is another type of fear like real dread and danger. And we have to categorize these things. And we have to kind of intentionally, cognitively think about these things and say, we can address this and we can do it. And sometimes we just have to plow through and we just have to rip it, right? So if we were to say, all right, what's my biggest accomplishment for 2026? The next question is, what's my biggest fear for 2026? And what's my first exposure step to address it? How do I start to address it before it becomes something that's real? Fear, I would argue, reveals something that you actually value. And if you go with the 5 whys, I'm afraid of this, why? Because of this, why? Because of this, why? You get down to some real root cause shit that allows you something tangible that you can address. And so when we talk about the biggest accomplishment for 2026, we have to talk about our biggest fear of 2026 as well. And that becomes some fuel for motivation. Right? Sometimes motivation is avoiding a fear or addressing a fear or tackling some kind of fear. And we constantly make excuses to ourselves on why we can't do something, but that's really often just a masked fear that we just don't want to deal with. And so when we think about the year and 2026, everybody has something they are petrified of. Everybody does. I have it, you have it. And we live these different lives, the lives that everybody sees, the private lives, the secret lives. We've got all these different things. What are you afraid of? Write down that fear and name it. Even if you've never said it out loud, you don't have to tell anybody, you don't have to broadcast it. But if you know what it is, and if you can name it, then you can fight it. And that's an important component for 2026. We are living in a time of massive amounts of fear, and we've masked it under so many different things. Pick one, address it, and move past it, right? Because you'll find Most things are not as good as we think they're going to be, and they're not as bad as we think they're going to be. And so we have to name the big thing that we want to accomplish, and then we have to name the big thing that's preventing us from getting there, and that's a fear, right? And those types of motivations are really, really important. Number 3, priorities. Scope creep is very real, especially now with AI and everything else, and we're trying to do too many things, and we're overwhelmed, and we're burnt out. There's no secret. We've talked about this. Everybody's talking about it. We're all completely overwhelmed. And so when we think about what would make me unambiguously proud in 2026, and then what are we afraid of, then you say, all right, what are my 3, not more than 3 priorities for 2026? It could be work, it could be home, it could be community, it could be faith-based, it could be whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter. But priorities are where you start matching this kind of strategy with honesty type of thing. And we have to cull this down to just 3 things, because the next question after what are my 3 priorities is, what was the 4th priority? And am I okay sacrificing this for the other 3? When everything is important, nothing is important. And we can't focus on the things that really matter. And if we think about the one thing we have to accomplish in 2026, the one thing that we want to be unambiguously proud of, that's your anchor for the year. But then the priorities behind it should be linked to that in some kind of way, right? So what are your priorities, and what would make this year a failure if these priorities didn't get done, right? If 2026 is a failure, this is like real depth type of thinking to say, all right, these are my priorities to get the thing. And if you were to think year after year the things you want to accomplish, and they're on the same list year after year, you're just not doing it. There's a pattern. You've got some kind of obstacle there, and it's just going to be a different year, right? Is it a fear? Is there, scope creep? Are you doing too many different things here, too many different things there? Is this a year where you can finally rip the Band-Aid and say, this is the priority. I want to get it done. I'm finally going to speak French this year, right? Make it serious, right? And how do you intentionally do that and make this your priority? We have so many recurring obligations. I'm so guilty of it. When you work for yourself and you work from home, I've got these things, these repeats every week that I've got to do. Delete these recurring obligations because they're just noise, right? They're things meant to distract you from the things that you really want to accomplish and the things that you really want to prioritize. Free your time so that you can focus on the priorities that you really want to do. And just as important as we think about these priorities, think about all the things that are not in the priorities and delete them. And when we think about motivators, right, what changes do we have to make this big number 1 priority really real? And these other 2 priorities, if you want to kind of go deep, there are a lot of things that you have to delete in order to make this happen. And so think through, what are the things that we have to delete to make our priorities really, really important? And those are the first 3 things that we can ask ourselves really questions. There are deeper kind of what is my 90-day strategy, all that stuff. Go to the worksheet to kind of do that if you feel like that's important to you. But those are the 3 that are really kind of mindset type of things, right? My unambiguous accomplishment, my fears and motivations, and then what are my priorities for the year as well to do that. Like that's 3. The next 2 are more personal based. And I think, we tend to focus externally on the change. We tend to focus on everything that's happening to us. We have to focus on ourselves as well. And that's where these next 2 categories come into. And it's social wellness and individual wellness. Your opportunities and catharsis and happiness and wellness and all this stuff live in other people's calendars. Okay? The social component of your life is so incredibly important because these people challenge the way we think about things. We get different types of perspectives. We could share some of what's important to us, and we find that different levels of support. Now, I wrote in the first book years ago, there's 3 types of social you need. You need a support system, you need micro interactions to run around, and you need to meet new people to kind of challenge your perspective and your belief system. And I still believe those are 3 good categories. But when we think about relationships and everything else, think about your 3 relationships, or 1 relationship, or whomever it is, who needs to be really solidified? Because we are social beings. We evolved to be social beings. And people like to pretend that networking is optional until they're really stuck. And if I take a look at the writing on the wall for 2026, there's a pretty damn good chance most people are going to have some kind of rocky stress around getting laid off. Maybe they get laid off, or it's a big fear for them that it's going to happen in 2026. I think that's a legitimate concern. That work starts now. You are not going to get a decent job if you get laid off if you don't have a social network in place. You're just going to have to take something that you can grab, and you're going to be miserable in that role because you're doing it simply because you have to pay bills. But when you have a social network in place, when that bad thing happens, you have people that you can draw on, and you could be supportive of them too, right? Reciprocity is such an important part of being social that it helps our wellness and our psychological state and everything else. We need social wellness. We need social components. We need social people. And social capital, I would argue, predicts career acceleration and everything else, and personal happiness far more than anything else. Now, I have to kind of talk about what social means. Social doesn't mean going out and jumping into a room full of complete strangers 5 times a week and doing that. Some people like to do it, some people don't. Social has depth. You don't have to meet 5 million people. Sometimes you could be introverted and just make 3 really meaningful coffee meetings a month, one-on-one, right? You could reach out to one person you haven't talked to in a while and get that social charge and say, hey, let's catch up, right? It's about building up this kind of relationship economics, I call it, of people that you're in front of. They think about you. They trust you. They see what you're capable of. They like you. And when we think about how do we network and all that kind of stuff, it's not about building up somebody that you can get something from later. All it is being in front of people and enjoying your time with them. That's it. You're not pitching them on a job. You're not pitching them on a business. You're not pitching anything. People want to be around people they like. And when you go and you enjoy it and you have fun, all of a sudden your social network explores and grows, and it's not about the people right in front of you. They know people and they know people, and people make introductions and say, oh, you're a big skier. Great. I have a great friend who's a big skier, goes to the same mountain or whatever the hell skiing people do. You two should connect and meet up. And now all of a sudden you've got things in common with different types of people. Some people are really social and they like meeting lots of different people, and they're connectors and they do all that stuff. Some people just like to live on an island. That's fine too. I'm more of that. But when you're like a little person who just sits and like to read, do it in a social context where you're sitting in a coffee shop and read. Other readers are going to notice you, and you can meet other readers, and you could do all these different types of things. Every one of us, I think, has somebody, if you were to pause for a second and say, I need to call this person because I haven't done it in a long time. Everybody's got one. I know one right now. In fact, it just popped into my head, and so now I haven't spoken to Paul. I am going to. Paul, I'm coming for you. Everybody's got one. And we also need, though, outside of that little connection, we want to surround ourselves with these people who are going to challenge us, not just tell us yes, right? We want to surround ourselves with these good types of people who are going to say, yeah, why are you doing that bullshit thing you're doing? Because, I know who you are and I've known you for a long time, and it doesn't seem like, you have to defend yourself a little bit. That's great. We need all different types of people. So that's social, right? If you want more questions on social, go to the worksheet. Number 5, let's talk about you. Well, we'll talk about me. We need energy to do all this shit, right? Life is exhausting right now. The news is exhausting. The work is exhausting. Everything's got overload, right? And when we think about wellness, it's not the fluffy BS kind of go meditate and go do yoga and all this other kind of stuff. It's what do you need? Right? Wellness isn't just going to a gym, though it helps. It's identifying the things that are draining our energy. And if we're going to be successful in 2026, in whatever way that you want to measure success, you have to be operationally ready to tackle what it is that you want to do. And that takes energy, and it takes focus. And when we think about wellness, it's not about just finding joy, right? I don't like people telling me I need to find joy. I'm more like, just let me find peace, right? I need to find peace and serenity and all that kind of stuff. That gives me energy. What is it that you need to take care of yourself to drive energy up? And what gives you energy? So what are your non-negotiables in terms of getting the right sleep, getting the right movement, the right focus, right? The 3 things are always diet, fitness, and sleep, right? Those are the 3. We know what they are. We ignore them and all that kind of stuff. If you're having signs of overload and burned out, who's going to challenge you on it? Do you have people in there to kind of say, hey, you need to check out, I'm watching you? All this type of stuff. What are the signs of overload for you? How do you keep yourself sustainable throughout the year? These are difficult types of questions to answer, but you know what they are. Deep down, you know what they are. You just want to ignore them and you just say, well, you know what? That's great. I've identified it, but I'm not going to make changes. It's time to start making changes, right? And say, my non-negotiable for sleep every night, I'm going to be in bed by 10 o'clock. Right? Or, whatever it is. People laugh at me when I say I get up at 4:30 because that's my really energetic time is the morning. I love it. And I go to bed at 9 o'clock. So I can get up at 4:30. And that's great. It's my non-negotiable. Every day I just do it. And I don't go out and run 15 miles or anything in the morning, although I used to be that kind of way. I get up, I have my coffee, I do some work. It's my most energetic and clear thinking time of day. And it's my wellness time of the day. It's my 4:30 to 7 before everybody else gets up. That's when I like to be by myself and I like to do my thinking. Everybody has some kind of non-negotiable that we can name that's going to be very important for your particular type of wellness. And that's one thing that you're going to have to think about this year. It's not about new habits. It's not about all this other kind of stuff. We're trying to put square pegs into round holes and doing all this kind of stuff. Don't listen to anybody else. You have to think about it for you. It's not about just trying to find habits that aren't going to work. Find the things that really matter to you and find ways that you can recover when things get overwhelming. How do you like to recover and get that kind of energy back, right? We can't always just go sit at a beach all the time. There are ways that you could do it in the cold and relax and check out and do nothing. And that's, pull a little office space time where you just do nothing. And it's really, really nice. Those are your 5 categories. Okay. Answer them fast, right? Generally, the first type of answer you give are the best type of answer and just go into it. Why? Don't overthink these things, right? If you were to just rip through these questions, take a 10-minute exercise, answer 25 questions in under 10 minutes. And you might surprise yourself with some of the answers, right? Accomplishment, fears and motivations, priorities, social, and wellness. Those are your 5 categories of focus for the year. And what are the things that are most relevant for you? Don't make the same mistake twice. What worked in the past is not going to work for this year. And any planning you've done at the end of the year in previous years, you were a very different person at that time. And you're a very different person today than you were 6 months ago. So it's important to ask ourselves these questions constantly, right? On a very regular basis. What's relevant to me? What's important to me? And how am I challenging myself in these different types of ways? Because we become different people based on changing contexts. And so when we ask ourselves good, hard questions and we can answer them honestly to ourselves, we don't have to post this on social media, any kind of stupid shit. Just do it for you. And all of a sudden, you're going to have a little bit of clarity as you enter into 2026. This isn't a difficult exercise, but it may unravel some different types of thinking for you. I've rambled a lot, almost 30 minutes this week, and I just kind of went. But here's my challenge. Don't repeat the year. Make this a new one, right? Make it your year. And when I say make it your year, this isn't about rah, go rip shit up. You're going to be amazing. Make it your year. Make it the year of you. What's important to you. Everything else is noise. Right? In this odd kind of way, you are so incredibly insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe. But at the same time, you are the only thing that matters. Right? It's this weird dichotomy that we struggle as humans. No matter how insignificant we are in the universe and billions of years and we're flying through space and, does this little work project really matter? No, it doesn't. But at the same time, your perspective is all that matters because you are living your life. So that makes you at the same time the most important thing in the entire universe to you. And so I hope this is helpful. Go on the website. The questions are there. Download it, rip it up, do whatever you want to do. It's free, of course. I don't charge for this, kind of shit. Just do it. Run with it. And hey, have a wonderful year. Have a wonderful holiday season. I hope everybody is fantastic. Enjoy it. I'll see you in 2026. Check out. Peace out. Have fun. And I'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks.